Super cool to have you here. Welcome. Welcome to our first episode of the Founder Story in Berlin. We are your hosts today. My name is Sarah, this is Paul, and we are both part of the digital native team here at Google Cloud. And with that, Paul, you can kick it off.
Sure, with pleasure. So also a huge welcome from me. Absolutely pleasure to have you here, guys, today. Let's kick it off with a question. In order to set the scene and also to get a better understanding of the people who are sitting here in the crowd. So the question is, who of you is working currently in a pre-seed or seed startup? Can you raise your hands, please? Wow, interesting. What about Series A? Series B? What about C and beyond? Super interesting to see such a diverse crowd here. The room is booked full of people who all want to change the world, and each and every one of you is working on a product, on a solution, or even on an idea. And you're doing this because you believe in the power of innovation and also in the impact that it can have. And we are here today to talk about your story, so also your journey and also the lessons that you learned along the way. And this is exactly what also the founder story is all about. We want to hear your voice, your stories, and to give you guys a stage to talk about your story and also to connect with each other. And let me get one thing straight here. Today, we don't want to talk about Google or any other big tech company. No, we want to talk about you and your story. And with this, we are super thrilled to welcome you to the very first episode of the Founder Story.
Yes, and then you all saw that there is a QR code on your badge. We also have it here. So you can ask your burning questions during the whole event via the Mentimeter, and then later in the Q&A we will pick them up. If you want to personally ask the question, please also add your name so we can ask who of you is the person behind the question. And then I would say we will get some opening words from our head of digital natives, best-selling book author, startup powerhouse, and retired rapper, Axel Springer.
Wow, I wasn't expecting this. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Paul. A warm welcome from me as well. As you can see, my name is Axel Springer. I'm head of startups here at Google. And it's my pleasure to be here. And it's my pleasure to be here with you, all of you. Because if it wasn't for people like you, we wouldn't be here, right? In fact, if it wasn't or hadn't been for two founders building their business out of Susan's garage, none of us would be here. I'm mentioning Susan, our former CEO of YouTube, because we are in the former YouTube space. I'm not sure you knew this. This used to be a YouTube space for creators. You are the lifeblood of the startup ecosystem. Without your bravery, without your boldness and your energy, none of us would be here. So let me say that we all need people like you building businesses with your vision, with your willingness to change the world, and with your ideas and dreams. Our economy would probably die a slow but certain death, or at least retire like Steve Ballmer has by now. Google's now a very big corporation, and we are being challenged by the likes of you. One could even say we had a bit of a Sputnik moment recently, when a small, arguably well-funded startup made us dance, right? As Mr. Nadella would like to put it. And that's a good thing. And not only because I like dancing, but we need innovation. We need challenges. I've been with Google for quite some time, and it's been it's been a while since I've witnessed this energy and eagerness to build great products here on these floors, in these halls. It's been a while, and it's good that we have been challenged. Because without these challenges, your challenges, without your dreams and ideas, we wouldn't have the likes of Zalando and Delivery Hero, Celonis, Personios, and all these unicorns coming from startups, from Germany, sorry. All these unicorns coming from Germany. And I want to thank you for that. I really want to thank you for that. Here is to you, to all the founders in the room. Give yourself a round of applause. And I think I've said enough. I want to welcome the first guest on stage. I had the pleasure of being on the same jury with her, not in court, but at the Bits and Pretzels in Munich. A smart mind with an incredible founder and entrepreneurial story of her own. She built $100 million business, and she now works for Balderton Capital. So please welcome on stage Shika from Balderton Capital. Give her a round of applause. Okay, Shika has entered the building. Woohoo! Please come on stage. Stage is yours.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Well, good evening. It's a beautiful evening to be here, actually, in the Google offices with all of you. The sun has been shining all day, which is very rare for Berlin. So I feel very happy about that. And so many thanks, Axel, for setting the scene of the evening, and many, many thanks for having me here tonight, Sarah, Paul, and Axel, and the entire Google team. So I was tasked by the three to open our event tonight, Founder Story, the first of its kind in Berlin, which I feel very, very privileged and humbled to do. And a few of you might be thinking, what is she doing here? She's a VC, not really a founder. What can she really say about a founder story? Well, as Axel mentioned, I was actually a founder before I joined Balderton 2 years ago. And I was living in India for 5 years in Asia. And so the majority of my work life I have spent on your side, on the founder side, and I loved it. But let's be honest, it's tough, it's hard, and sometimes you wonder, what am I doing? And do my customers hate me already? Why is CAC not stabilizing? Why is content marketing so time-consuming? And why are the keyword bids constantly going up? So let's go back a couple of years. When I graduated in 2014 in a little town called Fallenda, I felt this thing, and you may have felt it too, called execution rage. I really want to get something done. So I completely took the wrong decision in hindsight and joined an investment bank. Very smart people, loved it, but realized very quickly it's not for me and not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I booked a one-way ticket to New Delhi, India. That was 2015, where some of the folks that later on became my co-founders were already there and waiting. And so between 2015 and 2020, together we built India's largest internet business in the apparel space and scaled it up from scratch to $100 million in revenue, not GMV, revenue, with 75% gross profit margins. I would say almost a software-like business, probably, with over 300 employees. And we started online, direct to consumer, but very quickly also expanded omni-channel. So I've seen a bit of both worlds, online and offline. And I definitely say hands down, this was the best time in my life so far. And I think my husband is in the audience, so please forgive me. But yeah, the time with my co-founders has been the best time in my life so far. And there have been countless difficult moments, especially at that time in India with government-imposed shocks. So there are two moments which I remember very distinctly. And one of them, I'm sure you've heard about the Indian Prime Minister, Modi, not very loved by most of the international folks.
And essentially, the Modi regime overnight changed the taxing structure in India. And so without actually changing anything about our own operational burn, suddenly our runway probably got halved at that time, significantly impacted. And that was really a tough pill to swallow. And then another really difficult piece that I remember from my time as a founder is a thing called demonetization. So I'm not sure if you remember, but I think it was 2016 when the Indian government decided that the cash currency is no longer valid overnight, basically. The only problem is that India at that time, and probably still is, a cash economy, and so is e-commerce. So in India, most of the orders are actually delivered via cash. It's a payment mode called cash on delivery. So you deliver the goods, the order to the customer gives the logistics partner cash, and then you receive the cash back into your account a couple of days later. And so obviously that doesn't work if the currency is invalid, declared invalid from today to tomorrow. So, well, you can imagine that basically there are no revenues coming in within 24 hours at all. Probably in hindsight, we should have just shut off marketing. We didn't do that at the time. We panicked. Another panic that I guess is very, very near to sort of the current day, only a couple of days ago, is what has gone down with one of the tech banks recently, SVB. And I think everyone has been busy with that as well. So my point is that being a founder and founding a business is incredibly hard. There is uncertainty around every single corner. It's tough, it's lonely, and it's full of surprises and challenges all the time. So yeah, but I would probably do it again at some point. And I guess this is just a tiny glimpse of my 5 years as a founder, but ultimately my several encounters with investors during that period. I had really amazing encounters with investors, but also not so amazing ones. And ultimately, those encounters inspired me to come over to the investing side myself and support founders from an early stage lens. And that's precisely what I'm doing with Balderton. So Balderton, real quick, we're a 1.3 billion multi-stage venture capital firm, and we've been investing in Europe for more than 20 years. We have quite an experienced partnership, quite an experienced team with operators, founders, also investors, and there are tons of interesting things about us, but most interesting actually is our portfolio. We've invested in companies like Revolut and also Dream Games over the years, but most importantly in the DACH region in Berlin, where we are today. We've invested in companies like Contentful, Infarm, Omeo, MacMakler, but also more recently companies like Finoa in the crypto space, or also Levity AI. And we essentially, our commitment is that we are able to take a company from seed to IPO and essentially deploy tickets from $1 million to $60 million. And I don't want to bore you with all the details, but there are many points why Balderton as a firm and as a venture capital firm is different, and why I, as a former founder, chose to work with that company as well. And I won't go into too much detail there, but there's one piece, only one piece that I'd like to mention in tonight's context, which is we have a strong belief at Balderton that companies and founders perform best, and we see the best outcomes, when the same level of attention is paid to mental and physical health as it is to the work itself. So we think holistically about the founder's journey in a way that most VCs don't. And so I believe there are two ways to think about tonight's topic: navigating an uncertain environment, extending the runway, and balancing growth and burn. There is definitely an element of balancing growth and cash burn in terms of investing in growth versus how much cash do I conserve, how much runway do I want to keep, and that's totally right. And pun not intended, it's a burning question for us all. And our panelists will discuss this in more detail with Sarah later on, in much more detail. And a lot of the growth and burn question hinges on which stages you're at. Are you pre-seed? Are you seed? Are you Series A? Are you post-Series A? Where is your product market fit? What does product market fit even mean? How do you define that? Are you pre-product market fit, post-product market fit? And in some ways, in the current environment, you are forced to rethink, turn around every single penny, how you're spending it, why, and to what end. And that's completely normal. But there is completely normal in the context of being a founder, because remember, I said many uncertainties all the time. And there's another trade-off, though, in a founder's life, which I wanted to draw your attention towards tonight. So it's not only growth and burn in the cash burn context, but there is another way to understand growth and burn in current times. So as a founder, you have one life. one human lifetime to grow, explore, push yourself, potentially build your company, grow some more. So that's a growth bit. And you don't want to burn all the way down in the sense that burn all the way through like a candle to an extent that you potentially face perhaps a burnout. So that's, I think, in a sense, a very real trade-off between growth and burn, also in a personal founder context. So keep in mind it's growth and burn for your company, but it's also growth and burn for you as a founder. And oftentimes it is really, really hard to distinguish, and the lines are blurry. And so actually we have started a program at Balderton called Well-Founded. And at Well-Founded, we bring together our portfolio founders and enroll them in a program we have designed with experts across mental, physical, but also nutritional health. Because we believe building a company and being a founder is much like being a high-performance athlete. So when I was a founder and faced challenging dynamics, one of the times I actually had to let go 140 people in under 10 days. That was quite tough. And yes, that was in order to cut burn. And it was a very, very difficult time, not only for the people affected, but also for me personally. And I carry that with myself till today. And so in this very humble spirit, I'm looking forward to tonight's panelists: Andreas from Finn, Christoph from Talon.One, Gertrud from eyeo, Wolfgang from NPAL, and Emily from Google, as they chat about extending the runway, how to navigate a startup through uncertainty. So Sarah, handing back over to you, and many, many thanks for having me tonight.
So let's get the stage right. Perfect. Yeah, so I would say let's kick it off with our amazing panelists. Our first panelist is the mastermind and founder of Lieferando and Talon.One. Please welcome with me Christoph Gerber. Faster than expected. You can walk a bit slower. So the next one, with years of experience at Axel Springer and now the CPTO at eyeo. Please welcome with me Gertrud Kolb. So, who's next? Next, join the renewable energy revolution with Wolfgang Gröniger, Chief Evangelist from NPAL, a Berlin-based unicorn. And last but not least, welcome with me the CTO and co-founder of FinnAuto, a sustainable mobility company born in uncertainty. Welcome, Andreas Wixler. Wow, cool, thank you. Thanks for being here. Let's kick it off with a little introduction round. We have a dedicated question for each of you. And I would like to start with you, Andreas. Andreas, you founded your startup a few years ago as a founder and CTO. And then last year you decided to join the customer care team in your own startup as an intern. Why did you do this? And what did you learn in the machine room?
Why? That's a good one. Because I had the feeling that I have no idea what's going on in customer care. Actually, the main reason was because I heard just every customer care agent is on the line for 6 minutes with a single customer. I was like, that's too long. And then it's not long enough. This is what I learned. So it was really, really nice to really, really understand what's going on and how can we support it with tech. Yeah. Cool. So, and we ended up to build a dedicated customer care team. Tech team, sorry, tech team.
That's super cool. I think every founder should do a little internship, no?
Yeah, it was paid though.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Then we have a question for you, Gertrud. Gertrud, you had a steep career at the corporate business, and then you changed to the startup universe. What made you do this? Why did you went on this exciting roller coaster?
So I think I'm the only person in this room who is not a founder and not an entrepreneur at all. And yeah, I've been with Axel Springer for quite a long time, almost 9 years in different tech and product management positions. In my last position, I was responsible for the web delivery for Bild.de and Welt.de. And the journey was quite interesting because this transformation at Axel Springer from this typical German hierarchy print publisher to this digital international enterprise is really interesting. So it was really a good time. I learned a lot and I really could create and drive a lot of things. But then after so many years, I decided, okay, I need a kind of system change. I need a hard change. Of course, there are many opportunities with all the units at Axel Springer, but I really wanted to do something new and I wanted to join a growth company. This was important for me because I think a growth company is really interesting because then it starts to being really interesting when you have to establish the processes and I think, it's an interesting stage of a company. And of course, I was looking for a company in an interesting field, and then eyeo reached out, and this was a perfect match. And now I'm since 1 year at eyeo, responsible for tech and product, and it's really as I expected. Cool. It's an interesting company, great culture, and a lot of opportunities, and really cool.
Thanks for sharing. Super cool. Let's go next with you, Christoph.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
I got to ask hello.
Yeah.
I always find it funny when you ask a woman, why did you leave Axel Springer? It's like asking a pig, why did you leave the butcher shop?
Oh. I had a good time at Axel Springer, yeah? I know all this and it's a hard stuff, of course.
Shots fired.
I had a good time.
Okay, we can see them. Let's go to your question first. Christoph, okay, you're perceived as one of the icons in the startup scene.
I received what?
We say you're perceived as one of the icons in the startup scene. You founded one of the hottest startups back in the days, Lieferando, and then another one, Talon.One. What keeps to motivate you?
I think you said we all want to change the world. I don't think so. No, with the Lieferando, I never started to change the world. And what keeps me up at night, or what keeps driving me, is I want to have a good time and I want to build a good business. But I don't really want to change the world, and it would be a bit ludicrous to say with Lieferando, which I never perceived as the hottest shit in town, we don't change the world with Lieferando. Does it make the world a better place? No. Was there Delivery Hero, Pizza.de doing exactly the same? We just did it a bit better. Like, if you would have told me in uni, or Jörg called me and said, hey, I have this idea for pizza delivery. If you would have asked me, or told me like there's this great opportunity selling toilet seats, I would have said, okay, if we can crush that market and we can make it work, I would have sold toilet seats and probably not be sitting here. But so I think I just enjoy what I do, but I wouldn't give it too much meaning. It's just a job in the end.
Okay, interesting perspective, and we're here to learn from all of you. So thank you for sharing this. And I think we have maybe someone who wants to change the world. So maybe Wolfgang.
Often in their 30s or 40s, when the first child is born, people start to rethink. They think, what have I done with my life so far? Oh, fuck, I built coal power plants and pipelines in Africa. I have to change this. I need to sell solar panels now. This is, for instance, the story of Henning Rath, who is our head of office in China. He was around the world engineer. He built like coal power plants in the jungle, and now he said, well, fuck it, I can't do this anymore. And also many others of our startup NPAL who decided in their 30s or 40s, what have I done with my life? I work 80 hours weeks at McKinsey or at this or that lawyer's firm. I want to do something meaningful. And this happens a lot. And so they came up with NPOL. And now we're building like 3,000 new systems per month, being the biggest PV installer across Europe. So when I joined the company 2 years ago, I'm not a founder, not an entrepreneur, just as you. I just joined the company 2 years ago, and it was still a small firm. I looked at the website and said, Mario, that's the founder, your homepage is shitty. You're a small startup, but of course, I join you because I'm like, in my heart, I'm for the energy transition. I always want to do something with energy. Let's do it. 2 years later, the website is still crappy. It's not like a unicorn, but without a good website even. But the business is really thriving because people are really passionate about it. And I think because everyone is focused on making this work, because people want to build the biggest energy movement across Europe. When I heard this, Mario saying 2 years ago, I was like, yeah, okay, like every startup, whatever, it's big dreams, but you're just like, with this website, you will never succeed. But they did, and built a really large business with it.
Okay, super. Thanks for sharing. I can agree with the website. Just had a look, but it seems to work.
Yeah,
so
it causes eye cancer. We have documented cases for that.
Don't change it.
don't change it. No,
Customers love it.
Yeah, all good.
that's the key. So okay, but why we're here? We're here because right now there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. Especially the last year were crazy. COVID, energy crisis, supply chain issues. Now Silicon Valley Bank, etc., etc. There's always something happening. So the first question is, can you tell us how you're coping with this uncertain market situation and what are your key takes? Anyone wants to start?
I have a question to the audience. How many of you were still in uni or school in 2009? Yes, you see, that's the point. I think people never realized that this is actually the first time since Lehman or GFC, the great financial crisis in 2008, 2009, that we have that compression of uncertainty. And we feel that in our business where it's like, oh shit, the world is blowing up. And I'm like, happened before, and we're going to get through this. It's like, we're going to, the song.
I'm right. So I love it, for instance, right? I identified, for instance, myself. So if things are burning and everyone feels super uncomfortable, this is where I get relaxed. Like, okay, now it's getting interesting, right? And if you love this feeling of so many people around you losing control, or because they like to control, they like to predict things, if you have this mental model to stay, let's not call it agile, let's call it elastic, you're great for this times. It's not really special, to be honest. You have to deal with this situation all the time, and don't try to predict it. Try to be flexible mentally, and then you're good to go. And find the routines. Also, mental health is the word to use, but the routine so you can deal with it, right? Because pressure will be there all the time, and you cannot. For us, it's also CS, for instance, for Finn. It's not only Silicon Valley Bank, it's also Credit Suisse. They have I'm not sure. So for us, credit, so we had, I think, more than a few millions with Silicon Valley Bank. Yeah, okay. It's a weekend. Let's see what happened on Monday.
Wow, nice perspective. Any other perspectives that?
I mean, it's a bit. Sorry, I got in trouble because I don't wear a shirt. We can put this on. So I told my team it's a bit like predicting the unpredictable. And I mean, one thing for me, you become a founder because you have a bit of a hybris. You think you're the best and you know what to do. And looking at the last 2 years, I think COVID was okay. People sorted out. And then I think in the last 6 months, you could really see the world changing. Or probably November 21 was when the sort of whole stock market started falling down. Anyone with options here at Google? So that's when really things started to change. All of a sudden, interest rates got up. Everyone got cautious. we saw that with budgets. I mean, we have customers like Joker.
You have budgets?
We saw that with budgets of our customers like Joker, Gorilla, all of those customers that we had or still have, they're in big trouble now. And sort of on the VC side, you actually start seeing that money not coming in anymore, which was basically reshuffling of VC money to us. And so that definitely changed. And I said to my team, it feels a bit, there's nothing you can do. And that's a weird situation when you're a founder and you like that iconic Berlin founder that I am, that you're out of control or that there's very little you can do. And I told my team, so we have to think about it as we're swimming in a stream, and there's no sense of trying to swim upstream. There's no sense of fighting the markets, the unpredictability. Sort of put your hands close to yourself. Whoever went swimming in Bondi Beach, probably a lot of you did. When you get dragged out of the current, you just let yourself drag out in the current. And at one point, you come to a point where you can actually swim and start control your destiny. And until then, it's not worth it to fight. You can't change. There's things bigger than us, and that is an SVB. It's a bit philosophical, but there's so much movement which you cannot control. So just don't fight it. Like sit back, relax as much as you can, and then try to make it work for you.
Yeah, but I think it's important that you know your figures, that you know your revenue streams, your costs, that you are so flexible, that you know where you can do cost cutting or something like this. It's not, oh, this is so powerful, I cannot do anything, just stay relaxed. So I think this is really important. Also at eyeo, we saw this in the first year. So the business model was so great, and everything was so perfect. And very late, we started to have really a budget process. Also talk with the organization about this and show, hey, these are our revenue streams. These are our costs. This is a healthy status, what we want to achieve. This is the forecast. And I think it's important, really important, to be to manage your financial figures and also make this transparent to your team.
I fully agree. It's not that at Talon.One we're sitting there going like, oh, whatever happens, happens. No, what I'm saying is, obviously we look at budgets, obviously we look at costs. I came here to get some Google credits.
This is the first time we mentioned this.
Yeah, but because I haven't received them yet, so.
Your story reminds me a bit of... have you guys watched Forrest Gump? Mm-hmm. There is this fantastic scene where like Forrest Gump and Lieutenant Dan are on their shrimp cutter on the ocean, and then this storm comes up, this heavy storm, and Lieutenant Dan, without his legs even, sits there and like, God, is this all you have? And then next day, after this horrible storm, all the other shrimp cutters they have just sunk, and they survived. And I think what you say, Gertrud, is get your things together, look at your finances, look at your budget, and get your things together.
That's completely right. But what I'm saying is you can't fight sort of, I mean, we got someone from Balderton here. They all want to have, last year, if you would have spoken to Balderton or probably before November 21, it's like growth, 150% minimum, blah, 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 blah. Burn the fuck out of your business. So we're going to raise again. Get a venture loan at SVB. That's a great idea. And now they're like, oh, we love substantial business because we've seen it coming, and we love 30% year-on-year growth is great. But then they're still looking at the old numbers, so they haven't even figured out what they want. So I said, for you as a business, you have to understand. Sort of Macquarie, one of the bigger shareholders at Lieferando, they said, a good buyer always finds a business, and that should be sort of your North Star, even when operating right now. Focus on yourself. Don't listen to your board. Like they have 20 fucking engagements. You're one small part of their equation. They pretend they've seen the world. They haven't. Like focus on yourself. Decide what is best for you, and you decide as a founder. You are in that business every single day, 24 hours. Talk to other founders what they do.
But I like this statement, but at the end, this is exactly what I liked, for instance, switching from growth to efficiency, right? Or profitability, call it how you want. Because then only the mental elastic founders will adapt accordingly. Of course, don't get just an investor. You should always get the investor that understands your business, because you don't want to spend like 30 minutes of your board meeting to explain the business again and again. Sounds so stupid, but it will happen if you have the wrong investor. I think getting the right investor is always essential.
I think it's even more like focus when we talk about how are we getting resilient now. Focus on building a good business.
Yeah.
And a good business is something that you have to define for yourself, and not the investors have to define. Because for the investors, it's a big numbers game. If 20 of their businesses go bust and 2 make it, fair enough. They don't care about they care. They say they care about the few ones, and they will all argue they care and they're your friends. But in the end, it's a numbers game. They need these 2 ones to succeed.
Look,
but for you, it's n equals 1.
If
and
you
as I
don't
said,
have
focus
net
on building a
profit
good business.
Unit economics, you should not even think about growth. If you're losing money, burning money with every single unit, don't even think about growth. Get this from day one with every single unit that you have. Otherwise, you're burning money, someone else's money. Okay.
With that, maybe round it up. I think Wolfgang, you also wanted to say something.
We're out of time. So.
I think it's good to have wise investors on board who don't only give money, also give advice and give their networks. And hopefully it's good advice and purposeful networks. But of course, as I think someone mentioned it already, you are in the business and you know most about your company and your business case. The investors are not that close. 2 years ago, we opened our NPAL training center for our solar installers. So we hired 1,000 people to work for us and go out to the field and build solar panels. The investors said, "Are you guys crazy? I mean, this is not a lean startup anymore, right? You hire 1,000 installers, and then you open up an office in China in the midst of the COVID crisis. Are you guys crazy?" Perhaps we were, but now 2 years later, in hindsight, we know it was the right decision because the bottlenecks in the past 2 years were the capacity of installers and the capacity of the supply chain. And without those 2 steps, NPAL would not exist anymore, perhaps.
Thanks for your perspective. Let's get a bit more concrete. So we have a lot of pre-seed, seed, Series A founders here in the round. Can you share your recommendations or maybe your strategies that you have implemented to extend your runway in the past or currently? We would love to hear about this. You are already, yes.
I can start, yes. So I think the one thing that we did great is visibility on the numbers. We have a very super transparent company. So what we did is, and we did it a bit too late, but we did it and now it's good, is we put cash in our daily check-in, right? Just like the bank account, the balance of the bank account on your daily report that you anyway would like review every day. And this is just having this visibility on this, let's say, simple numbers, the main important business numbers. And if it's more than 10, that's bullshit. And monitor them every day. That's the best thing you can do, because the rest, you are able to translate this into actions. And then you could start daily, and then you see it's all getting boring weekly, and then, yeah, I wouldn't do it monthly. I would stick with weekly. I think that's the best thing that we did in the last, I would say,
so
half
really
a year.
Monitoring and checking your KPIs on a daily, regular
Yeah, but just cash. Like, you can also report this to the team. So what we did every Friday, 17 to 18 o'clock, it was a team weekly, and then we just reported the same numbers that we reported to the investors. We reported to the team. So the team conducted the numbers. We took the slides, export to PDF, attach to email, bye-bye to the investors. Same numbers.
Okay.
But you can only do it if you have a super transparent company. If you don't have this transparency yet, don't introduce that. don't. Otherwise, it's a lot of uncertainty for people that are not grew up in this environment.
And what areas exactly are you maybe looking at right now? Is there something you can share? Or maybe, Christoph, you founded several companies now, been there. Anything that have worked or not worked very well in the past?
Got team members here, so I can't speak too open. So, I mean, knowing your numbers is obviously right. And when I asked, so who experienced 2008, 2009, that's when we started Lieferando. And to get our first financing round was 130,000 euros. I mean, that's not even That's not even covering the lawyer costs in a normal seed round right now. Our first valuation was 700,000. Like nobody, like that's a different world. But we started in 2008, 2009. And I always had this in mind with Talon.One, for example, that we said we need to be in control of our business. We need to be very, very conservative and cash conscious. So we always had that. And internally, I think Thorin is here, they call me Dr. Doom. And I always have my Dr. Doom presentations once a month. And it started before, I think it started before COVID, where I just said we have to be cautious because we need to be in control. We need to be in a place where we don't need to change direction and things in the business because of external factors. That happened in Lieferando numerous times because we're not experienced. I think Talon.One is pretty resilient in what we do. We obviously looked at costs, and there are things I just Google, please begin. We saved 500K in deployment cost within a month. 2 months project, but just starting to looking at our overhead. It's like, oh, we can cut here, we can cut here. So there's a lot of just normal expenses in the Berlin office. We cut from 90 to 42K on a monthly basis. So, and I asked my team today, did you feel it? Like, is your life any worse? Less chocolate in the snack box? Or it's like nobody, like it's the same. So there are things you can do, but obviously for business like ours, I think 90% of our cost is headcount. But we are lucky that we have enough cash on the balance sheet. And I have enough cash to chip in some if we're out of money. So I think we're in a good place, but that is because of Lieferando, and we had some learnings before.
Okay, interesting. Let's have another perspective maybe here. Gertrud, I remember from our talks that you said you're focusing right now on investing in product, and you have the expertise there, right? Can you maybe give us a bit more of understanding where you focus right now? Because I think there's not only like cutting costs, but also like going more in the direction of where can you invest actually in?
Yeah, so eyeo started with this ad blocking idea, and it was this great business idea having really many ad blocking users and then offering ad filtering. So the basis is the acceptable ad standard, so that we offer the users a very good web experience, but we monetize, we recover these users for the publishers. So this is the best business model. And this is really a great idea, and it worked out very well. And then over the time, we broadened this because we said, okay, we also want to recover when it comes to the whole programmatic stack. And now we think also how we can advertisers give this possibility to reach this valuable audience. So again, we had a great business idea, everything was fine, and then we broadened everything, and there were so many ideas and so many opportunities and so many balls in the air. And when I joined eyeo a year ago, also in the interviews I had, it was a bit, okay, how looks your product portfolio? How is your planning process? How do your KPIs look like? And it was not transparent, let's put it like that. And so I concentrated the last year very much, what is the product at eyeo? What is the component? What is the manual service, to make this product portfolio visible for everybody, to really make transparent where are we and what are we working on. And it's really complex because we have these different stakeholders, and many people at eyeo working in their silos and didn't understand the big picture. And then, of course, the next step was to establish a kind of planning process, because we have many technical dependencies and many different interests, because we work for the stakeholders, users, publishers, and advertisers. And sometimes we develop products and have different interests. So we have to solve these conflicts. We need good processes for doing prioritization, because at the moment it's like escalation here, escalation there, and it's a bit, yeah. So this was really my focus last year, to give it all a bit structure and a bit process. Yeah, I'm a corporate woman, but this is, from my perspective, really important, especially for companies in this growth stage. Also because, yeah, you have great product idea, want to change the world, you make business, everything is fine. And then you check out, hey, you need new products. You want to broaden your spectrum. You want to adapt your products. And then this hard product development work starts.
Okay, Q&A.
Almost there, almost there. We have one or two more questions, and then we go to the Q&A, and we have time for the Q&A. So, Christoph, be patient. Before I go to the next question, I want to hear something unconventional. Something unconventional, how you extended your runway. I know from the NPAL founder, when he founded his first startup, that he slept in the office to save costs.
He did. I heard so too. Yeah. I don't know if it's a legend or not, but he tells a story all the time. Also, in the beginning of NPAL, they just had a few tables put together, and then that's it. I hear stories from the time back then that the first employees, they were told the same story like I was told 2 years ago. We're building here the biggest energy company of the world, and people were looking at him and telling him, you with your 2 desks there, and you are the CEO, and you're putting like this IKEA table together yourself. Okay, yeah, but whatever. I joined, and things happened.
Okay, cool. Anything else crazy that you tried to extend your runway, or like thinking? No?
I mean, the philosophy at NPAL is to have 3 speed limits, to have 3 speed modes. Very slow, and full speed. Because then you can make mistakes without having too much costs with it. So often it appears at the surface that nothing happens because you build a few solar systems there, you try a few things here, and it takes ages, and you think, okay, this company is just super slow. But then you learn how it's done. And you learn in the process without writing like large concepts, right? Business consultants probably would sit down, and prepare 200 PowerPoint slides. But then nothing happened so far, and you still don't know how to do it.
So you save money by doing nothing.
by not writing PowerPoint slides, right? But going out to the field, installing a few solar energy systems yourself. So then the founders were on the rooftops, seeing, okay, this is done this way or not, made mistakes, and then they rolled it out full speed, because then they knew how to do it.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Before we wrap it up, one last question. Let's talk about people. So, how do you maintain morale during times of uncertainty, and what is your take on culture?
Culture, I mean, everybody talks about culture, and then you put nice posters on the wall, say break things fast, and then they say these are our values, and this is what we want, and this is who we are. And as you can imagine, I think that's full of shit.
That's the slogan. It's all full of shit.
No, I actually believe it is full of shit, because the culture has to come from the bottom. You have to hire the right people. You have to create an atmosphere as a founder, but the values and the culture sort of develop themselves, and the trust. If you try to be, I mean, sure, sorry that I put you on like Google on the spotlight, but no evil, and then all of a sudden you're doing crazy shit with China, that's a big issue, or was a big issue at least. And there's a big conflict between sort of what you say you are and what you actually do. So I think a business that in its core has the right values, but the values come from the bottom and are transpiring through the team, and you communicate very open, you don't need that sort of, how do we keep morale, because it comes from within. If you're at the point where you say, oh, we now have to make a fun, like McMakler, I think they did a big company party on a Friday, and they were LinkedIn posts, oh, this is a true family, boom, Monday, 150 people gone. It's Bolton investment, is it? Yeah, but so you think that's how much you have with like our culture, we want to be a happy family, and then you fire people, like it has to come from within. If you know you're going to fire people on Monday, you don't make a fucking summer party on a Friday. And then you do it like, who watched, a Newman guy who did a party after they fired a lot of people to get morale up. I think it has to come from within. There's very little you can do from the top. That's my take.
I think, yeah, it's about people, absolutely, but I think it's not only about bottom up. I think it's always fascinates me how you influence also as leader, not only top management, the whole leadership team, how you behave, how you are, just as a personality, influence the culture in a company.
That's what I said. I said
No, yeah, you said bottom up.
Yeah, it has to come. You can live or lead by example, but you can't sit there on the very top and say like these are my values. And it's like, yeah, but
no, of course, I think also when it comes to this definition of the values, for me, it's always not the result is so important, but the way that you say, hey, it's important that we talk about this. It's important that we interact with each other in a good way. But again, I think how you behave and how you are, and that's why it's so important to be authentic also as a leader. You can do what you want. You influence the company as you are as a person, also in a kind of leadership team. And for me, then it's also important this to be clear. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. That you are very transparent and honest, not celebrating and then 2 days later fire people.
3.
Thank you. So
Okay, thanks. Andreas, top down or bottom up?
I think you're right. So hiring the right people, I don't worry about, for instance, about culture or morale, because you just involve. So I just know the German saying, Betroffene zu Beteiligten machen. That's it. Yeah, you just, hey, we have a problem. Let's get all of us into the room. No one would ever say, okay, that's strictly confidential or don't share that. It's clear, and then people are just focusing on getting the shit done, and that's it. No one would even drop the sentence of you have to stay longer. No, it's clear, because you make them, and you can use things like ESOP programs for everyone. So we, for instance, at Finn, customer care agents, senior management, middle management would get ESOPs, of course, different packages. You can use this mechanics to support that, but I have to admit it's all about recruitment. If you have to explain why this is now crunch time, why this is now important, you hired the wrong people, and then it might be too late. And then it's a different story. But then it's a different problem.
Thanks for sharing. Interesting perspectives here. So let's wrap it up and give some time for the audience to ask questions. But before we do this, wait. I want one keyword from each of you. What should they remember about our talk right now?
It's not free bidding.
So what's your keyword?
So the opposite of being pretentious, and I don't know what don't put too much meaning in everything. Just it sounds like that's again pretentious. Just do it. Like it's not that hard. It's hard, but just fucking do it. Don't spend time on startup talks. Just get shit done.
Thanks. Who wants to share next? Who's ready? Gertrud, do you have something?
One word.
Just a keyword that the audience should remember about today.
We also have keyword phrases, broad match. So that's what I did.
yeah, it sounds so unsexy, and it's not only one word, but processes are important, very important.
Thank you.
Disagree. Okay.
Interesting. Let's talk. We'll be here right after this.
So my word is disagree. No, disagree, commit, and then full force. Don't start this endless discussions.
We always say we're not a democracy. Yeah.
Especially design is not a democracy. It's dictatorship, yes.
Thanks for sharing,
I
Wolfgang.
have our thoughts about anti-fragility. This word didn't really happen here, but like we talked about, like Forrest Gump and Lieutenant Dan, and they built a ship, obviously, that was anti-fragile because it went through the storm and was better than before.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you all. Let's now get your questions. Paul, do we have questions in the tool?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's getting heated up on stage, but also in the question inbox.
But sorry, I forgot. Let's get Chica also back on stage. So she's also there to answer some of the questions. Perfect. And now the other microphone.
Do we know what this is about?
So we do have a question from Mario. Mario, are you here? I'm here. Perfect. I will hand over.
We're not leaving before we have credits.
Well, that was not the question, but to whom should I talk to afterwards? That would be nice. It was a serious question. Well, I would like to start with Christoph, who was the most interesting because of the honesty. Not that you were not interested, but the honesty was nice. So how do you, and this I really, maybe I also want to get your input, everyone's input. So how do you, what are some of the key leadership skills that are important in the context of motivating your employees?
Motivation is bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I would say like I'm not
Discipline.
I
but
don't
not
motivate
motivation.
people. I say we're not a family at Talon.One. If you're looking for a family, go somewhere else. We're a place. Thank you.
Yeah,
You have a great career at
sorry,
Talon.One.
but it's not. You don't fire people.
No, you don't. It's not. It's like this Steve Ballmer picture there. We're not a family at Talon.One. We're a place where you go to work. When you work, I want you to deliver. That's what you get your salary for. And then at 6 o'clock, I want you to close your laptop and go drink, play volleyball, whatever. I don't believe in work hard, play hard.
So I guess you don't call them over the weekend.
No, I don't call people
That's
over the
great.
weekend. I also don't think working overtime is good. I don't work overtime. I work 8 hours a day, maybe less. And that's fine. That's fine. But I get shit done. I'm thinking the whole time about the business. And I think that enables my team. They have a place where they're respected, they can grow, where I don't feed them bullshit. I don't tell them we're going to change the world, because we're not changing the world, neither with Lieferando nor with Talon.One. If you go to Adidas, you're getting a 25% discount, that's Talon.One. Is that changing the world? No, fucking no. But I enable them,
to motivate them.
yeah, but exactly. But I think it has to, what you said, it has to come from within. You have to like be honest. Like if I would sit there, my American team is, we win a big account. I'm like, yeah, we won a big account. And then I said, always like my American team should present that, because you know how we won the fucking, Wolf of Wall Street. But that's just not me. And then I think if you're honest and real, like people just, and if you give them room, say make mistakes, you don't have to ask me, don't involve me in meetings. If you know what I'm going to say, so don't involve me. You can make mistakes. Don't make them twice, but do whatever you want at Talon.One. Define your own workplace. That's a bit Google-like, hey? Used to be. Yeah, it used to be on a Friday. So this is how I think motivation comes from within, but not from me telling like, oh, let's all get motivated. Everybody's like, what's wrong, Christoph? Like, it's a bit.
But I have to not fully agree. But motivation is for me.
But we
it's the one
disagree. You see, that's like,
yeah, disagree from it. Motivation is the one thing you just do it once. You pump people up, and then that's it. Discipline or the whole environment that you set the scene, and then people can act accordingly. Being honest, being open-minded, I don't know, for us, for instance, embracing or owning stuff, all of that. You just, you put it on the wall, right?
I call it enablement.
Yeah.
Enable your team to operate and be successful. And in Slack, you can tell, like you can put your role in. My role is team assistant. That's my official role at Talon.One. And my calendar is open for everyone to use. So I'm a resource that everybody could use to be successful, from sales to, I don't know, for whoever. Like, enable your team. And for me, it's probably enablement, nothing else. And don't make people work overtime. If you have to, like, that's my take.
I agree. Overtime is bad indication for
And
time management.
If you need interns to operate your business, you probably have a shit business. We don't have one intern at Talon.One. We never had. It's like focus on creating quality.
Thank you very much. Well, this is gonna look like a Congress hearing from the US because I have many questions, but I'm gonna make it short. I want to know from Andreas, because as soon as I was doing my research about your business, I realized something about car ownership is traditionally being something related to it's a symbol, it's a status of power. So how do you anticipate customer perceptions on car ownership, And
I hate cars.
and how do you see this changing or evolving in the next years?
So I think the one thing why I love Finn so much and the business model is I'm not a car guy. I love my bike. I have a race bike. I travel to work every day with my bike. But what I hate is if something is not convenient. I love convenience because I truly believe people are lazy by design, which is good. Especially great engineers, they're lazy by design. They should be. If they're not, they're bad engineers. And that's why, for instance, in automotive sphere, or when you need 29 signatures just to get the car. What the fuck? Physical, wet ink in the signatures. I don't understand that. I am mentally not able to process that. It should be as convenient as possible. That's why, for me, a car is a commodity. It's like bread and butter, right? Would you own a car, milk this cow, and then use this milk to produce cheese? No. You go to supermarket or order cheese and that's it. And this is cars for me. I want the car tomorrow or in 3 days, signed, done, monthly payment, all good. So it's so simple, but so much complexity in the business that you offload to provide convenience and people willing to pay for.
Yeah. So Mario, sorry, I have to cut you off. I guess you do have a lot of other questions, but but we do have another question from Jack to Shika. So Jack, are you in the building? Over there.
We actually had another microphone, but I don't know where it is.
So I think this is something that a lot of people here are probably interested in. How do we, as founders, as startup people, how do we become more relevant right now in the current climate for the investors? What is it that investors are looking for to give us the money that we need to succeed? Because without money, as nice as the world is, no money, no fun, right? Like, and no fun, no business. So what do we have to show at the moment? What are the key things that the people in this room have to go away and find, apart from, straight numbers and the normal stuff? What is it? What's the magic sauce that you're looking for to say, yes, that's somebody I'm going to talk to? Because everybody wants to talk to you. So, like, how do we get in front of you? How do we get you to your attention and then get to a point where we can actually talk about money?
That's a really, really interesting question. And I wish I could give you one single answer to what the magic sauce is. But the reality, and super happy to hear your views as well from a current founder. I think the reality is there is no one single magic sauce. And that's what it makes super tough. But something that we always look out for in understanding companies and most importantly founders, because this is what matters most in the early stage, is why is a certain founder building a business? And are you really trying to solve a problem that is a problem? And so these are two areas that we look for mostly. And I think it's really easy to try and understand and digress towards what is the kind of traction figure that we're looking at Series A. There is this mystical figure of $1 million run rate at Series A, which I think goes around a lot, and in my opinion, falsely so, because that perhaps isn't the right measure to measure every kind of business. And so beyond really dollar traction, what I would really think about in your shoes and what on the other side excites me to see as an investor is trying and understand what are the metrics that you want to optimize for because you believe they fit your business. And that could be no revenue at all. Maybe that's user engagement. Maybe that is retention behavior. And so that is really, really hard to put in. And I think it's incredibly honest to stay true to yourself and what you're building versus trying to fit into, into someone else's matrix, because that matrix may change.
I have one question. Do you have a business? Do you run a business?
I'm from Doctorly, and we've just actually raised the Series A. So we went through the last.
Great product, by the way.
Yeah.
Just used it yesterday.
So yes, we run a business. We run Doctorly. It's building software for doctors in Germany.
Yeah.
And we've just raised, but just raised is like right now we're coming off the we've got money, but we're still thinking about like, okay, what do we have to show? What do we have to do? And yes, there are our metrics. There's our business. We want to enable the healthcare professional. We want to enable the patients in Germany to succeed, to live healthier lives. But
it comes back to it comes back to building a good business. What is a good business for you? What does a good business entail for your case? And I unfortunately have to agree with you as a VC.
Why unfortunate?
And you're completely right. But building a good business for me and for my team and for the people who are using my product is one thing.
Yeah, but all the VCs are different. It doesn't matter because at Talon.One, when I raised, took Lieferando public, raised for Talon.One, nobody in the world wanted to give me money. Index, Excel. Or if you do a marketplace with food, yeah, come on over here, you got a shit ton of money. Nobody wanted to give me money for Talon.One. Until I found someone in Australia. You're from Australia, hey?
Yeah, you can tell, right?
I can tell. I went to high school in Brisbane. So.
Melbourne.
Oh, okay.
We can fight about that later.
Okay, that's okay. I do drink VB. So I found SquarePack, Paul Bassett, founder of Seek. And to your point, investing in a founder, he said, I have no idea what you do, but I'm going to give you the first 2 million. And in Germany, Europe, the US, nobody wanted to give us money because everybody said, oh, coupons, you can create coupons with Magento. I'm like, yeah, obviously, you can use Magento as a CRM. Doesn't work. So it's really about you staying true to your vision, figuring out what's a good business and finding the right VC. Don't bend yourself over to make it work for Bullet and Index Excel. There might be a VC which is considered a tier C, tier 3 or tier whatever VC, but maybe it's the right partner for you to go on the next part of your journey. Just focus on building a good business because it could be that you have a good relationship with her and tomorrow she's gone because she is now a partner at Atomico. Boom, deal off. Congrats for you, but you know, like
it makes sense.
Change.
You're right, but it's still hard because at some point you've got to pay people salaries. You've got to.
Yeah, but if you have a good business, somebody will recognize that you have a good business. End of story. Sorry, it's that easy.
Okay, thank you.
One more question? From the
so let's take one of the top rated question here. So I will read it out loud for responsibility. So what is the worst startup advice that you received and why?
You're catering to the wrong customer.
That's a tough one, no?
That was completely incorrect assessment from one of our former board members. Yeah.
Maybe another take from Andy?
I think I mentioned this already, this design things, so design is not democracy, seriously. I go crazy if people discussing about design. There's one person in the room or in the whole company designing or deciding on design and that's it. I personally hate A/B tests, by the way. The worst shit ever. Do it, test it, check the number, throw it away if it's not working out. All good.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, super interesting insights. So we do have like 20 more questions, but we're running out of time. And
You can make it like 10 seconds per question, round robin.
Come on. Yeah,
I'll put somebody Tabata app on.
the good thing is we do have plenty of time. In the
No, I don't, because I have to put my kid to bed.
Unfortunately.
Dead life.
No free credit.
10 seconds.
But do we have a burning question in the audience?
Yes, about a kid too.
You really want to ask? Or?
Gotta go.
You have a kid.
Then one last one.
Congrats.
I don't yet, but I'm waiting for it.
Me too.
My question was pertaining absolutely that because a child usually is a diagnostic tool for what you really care about in the world, right? So that was my question. You as a parent or anybody who's a soon-to-be parent or entertaining the notion that you will be one day, what in tech, in the progress, in the advancements, and don't give me just social media, I want some more specifics. What scares you for your kids, either existing right now or will be in the future?
Nothing really.
Nothing?
Yeah, I think it's like
social
things
media,
change.
TikTok, nothing?
I think it's like how do you bring up your kid? How resilient is your kid? How much confidence you give your kid? How much tools you give your kid to handle social media and that they don't become a bully, they don't being dragged into social media. I think it's like you can say, oh, the world is bad and evil, but in the end, that's the world you have to live in. So you have to look after your kid, make sure it works. Like I can say.
How old are your kids?
2 and in the belly. Not mine. My wife.
And 13.
So you have a different perspective then. Yeah, but I think my parents were worried. My parents' parents were worried. Their parents were worried. And in the early days, everything was better. So I think it's a...
I was hoping for everybody to answer.
Yeah, sorry.
Even if you don't have kids.
I became CEO because I love myself.
I have no kids, but I ask me again in 5 years.
Okay, there's one burning question here. Let's take this one and then we go for some food, okay?
Awesome, thanks a lot. So just a quick question to Christoph. So I really appreciate your authenticity, and I think it was really cool how you handled the questions here. But I was just wondering, did brutal honesty got you in trouble, and can you share a moment? Thanks.
You think? Yeah, I nearly got kicked out of Lieferando from our board because I told them to fuck off and focus on. They have no idea what's gonna happen, what's happening in Australia. Like, who are they to tell me what's happening in Germany? That got me in trouble. I got like on a 6 months probation period. Got in trouble in school a lot. Yeah, there's a long list of trouble going through my life on a daily basis with my wife. And now at Talon.One we don't have a board because I want to stay the CEO of Talon.One for longer. So yeah, sometimes it's not. But I hope Thorin can confirm she's here. I'm better now.
All right. I think before you get in trouble for talking too long and keeping people from food and drinks, I think we'll wrap it up. A couple of things. You all received stickers, animal stickers, and you might have noticed that many of them are different, most of them actually. The idea is to find your partner because every animal has been handed out twice. So it's a fun way of looking for your match and then get to know that match. Apart from that, we'll meet downstairs. Foods and drinks are prepared. So enjoy the rest of the night, talk to everyone, get to know people, get to know likewise founders and looking.
Whoever has the horse, add me on LinkedIn because I have to go.
Okay, and you bring your kids to your bed.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, and let's have a fun night downstairs. Thank you. Bye-bye.